nutritionist and a certified diabetes educator. I have worked with various different hospitals and clinic, and now I run my own practice under the brand name called Healthfuel. And I majorly deal with a lot of clinical cases. So, be it diabetes, be it thyroid, PCOS, women's health, pregnancy, post pregnancy. Obviously, with all this, weight reduction becomes a part of the journey. But as you know, there is this. Usually there is this saying like, ki whenever you introduce yourself as a nutritionist or a dietitian, it is more or less related to just weight management. But no, we work beyond weight management and we deal with core clinical cases too. So I think that should be a good introduction for everyone.
So, Shreya, you shared a great tweet today, and the data shown in the tweet was alarming, right? So, would like to know about what could be the possible reasons of such an increase in last 2 3 years, and on the top of that, what are small steps which we can take so as to prevent this? Yeah.
Right. So when we talk about diabetes, like as you have seen the tweet, India has like 100 million plus diabetics right now, and it's like the second highest in the world. So the number, and obviously the number of people who are into the pre-diabetic zone are also very alarming. I am seeing a lot of cases in the age group of 20 to 35 who are like pre-diabetic, and this is obviously post-pandemic. The cases have increased a lot. So, just to start with, let me just brief about what exactly is diabetes. Let's understand what is diabetes and what is a simple definition for a layman. So, we all eat food. The food that we eat is at the end converted into sugar, and that sugar is absorbed by the cells of our body. Now, what happens is there is a hormone called as insulin, which works as a key. So this insulin helps in absorption of sugar in the cells. So in simple language, अगर आपकी चाबी सही नहीं है or if your insulin is not working properly, the sugar absorption is going to be blocked or it is going to be slower, and at the end there is going to be more amount of free glucose or free sugar moving into your bloodstream, which leads to high blood sugar levels. So when I say when your insulin is not working properly or if your pancreas is not producing enough insulin, it means like in simple language, I'll just explain it in the form of a lock and key model. So अगर key के around बहुत सारा rust है या फिर सेल्स के अराउंड बहुत ज्यादा फैट अक्यूमुलेटेड है, तो ऑब्वियसली जो ग्लूकोज है या जो शुगर है, it will be very difficult for it to enter inside and the key will not work smoothly. Your insulin will also not work smoothly in absorption of sugar. So that is what a simple definition of diabetes is. Now, when we talk about diabetes, there are like three different kind of diabetes. One is like type 1 diabetes, which is usually found in young kids. It's juvenile diabetes. So it's usually found at, diagnosed at a very early age. And it is something type 1 diabetics are usually dependent on insulin for sugar absorption because their pancreas stop producing insulin after a certain period of time, and that too at a very young age. And when we talk about type 2 diabetes, it is the diabetes like we see in the older age. Previously it was older age, but obviously now we see a lot of type 2 diabetics in young age people, or I would say teens or adults also, in the age group of 30 to 45. And the third type of diabetes is like gestational diabetes, which is usually seen in pregnant females. So it is like, during their journey of pregnancy, they may be diagnosed with high blood sugar levels. So that is, I would say, a simple definition and simple gist about diabetes that I will like to put up. Now, when we talk about what are the causes or what are the reasons for high blood sugars or spike in the number of cases of pre-diabetes and diabetes, I would say obviously one is the unhealthy food habits, availability of like convenient food, easy availability of junk and processed food. Stress is a major contributing factor. if you have like a strong family history, like if your parents or grandparents in the family had diabetes, obviously you already have uh, genes in your body, but obviously those genes will also be triggered if you have a bad lifestyle. Third is hormonal imbalance. So if you have a hormonal imbalance in your body, obviously that's another contributing factors towards high blood sugar, because insulin is also one of the hormones. So if your hormones are not balanced, it is going to, lead to high blood sugars or insulin resistance.
Right, Shreya. So, Shreya, I mean, you talked these days. We also get to hear like even children do have diabetes, and the people who are in their late 20s and early 30s are also suffering from due to the reasons you just explained. So what could potentially be a thing, or maybe a routine one can follow and be cautious when it comes to their children, that they should be I mean we should inculcate good eating habits in our children from the very beginning, and even the people who have sedentary lifestyles, maybe due to job or the nature of their work, how they should tackle with these situations.
Right. So when you talk about management of or trying to implement good habits at an early age in the family, it's one of the best thing that you can do for your children. So it's like, simple things. I think in any family, the children adapt to what parents do. So it has to be a family thing when it comes to eating
Yeah,
healthy. It
sure.
cannot.
In
Can you
between, in between the voice is breaking. Can we do one thing, like you
now?
drop
Is it
once
good?
and join? No, no,
Yes. Yes.
the voice is clear, but in between for 1 or 2 seconds intermittently it is dropping. So can we do one thing, like
Okay.
you drop once and join again as a speaker?
Sure. Sure. No problem.
Uh, Apologies for the inconvenience, guys. She'll be connecting shortly, so stay tuned. And also, if you have any questions, do write in the comments. Surely would love to take those questions. Shreya, I sent you the request again. Hello. Yeah, yeah, you are. You can continue,
Yes.
please.
So, when it comes to eating healthy or managing your clinical parameters as a family, it's always important when you talk about managing or introducing healthy eating habits in kids. I always say that parents are like a role model to most of the children. So it's important that parents start practicing or picking up healthy eating habits, and automatically the children pick up. Now when it comes to as I said, that there is very easy availability of junk food, processed food in the market, or we can just order it online when it comes to your burger, pizza, or anything nowadays. So one important thing you have to take care of or keep a track of is try and see to it that when it comes to eating processed food, when it comes to eating junk food, there has to be a timeline wherein you are allowed to eat only once in 15 days or once in 10 days, and not on a regular basis. And maybe the same recipes can be modified and made healthier and made at home from scratch, so that at least you're sure about what kind of ingredients are going into the recipe, and the quality of food is maintained, the nutrition of the food is maintained. Because obviously when you have children at home, or young children or teens at home, they obviously want to eat fancy food and delicious food, and not restricted to simple roti, sabzi, dal, rice. So when it comes to modifying, I am just trying to put up that try making whatever we get outside, be it like a pizza or be it like a burger, why can't we make it at home from scratch and in a healthier way, where we are sure about what kind of ingredients are going in, what kind of oil are we consuming, what amount of cheese are we adding to the recipe, or what amount of vegetables are going into the recipe, and automatically the craving for eating outside food or craving for eating more of the processed from outside will reduce because that's easily available at home. So that is the first step. Second, physical activity. I think most of us are attached to screens, be it phone, laptop, TV, tab. So we have to start reducing our screen time wherever possible and start introducing some kind of outdoor physical activity, be it just like 30 minutes in a day. It is going to work efficiently towards good health, and it is like a small investment which will compound towards a better health. So I think that is another thing. Sedentary lifestyle. So the desk and chair model. So I don't think so we can totally go off that model, but obviously every 30 to 40 minutes making a conscious effort wherein you get up from your place and just walk for 5-10 minutes, drink water, eat something. So that regularity has to come into picture, and that will require a lot of conscious effort. It's not going to happen overnight, but with conscious effort and conscious reminders, I think it works wonders for the body. So that would be another thing. Fourth would be the sleep pattern. So most of us are into an irregular sleep pattern wherein there's no fixed time of going off to bed, there's no fixed time of waking up in the morning. So your body will remain confused always if you don't have a fixed schedule. So sleep time will play a very important role, and specifically sleeping early. Early means around 10 p.m. or 11 p.m. That's the best time you can go off to bed. And if you sleep at that time, between 10 to 2 a.m., sleep is like a medicine for the body because your body heals, throws off toxins, repairs. If you're sleeping at that time, your metabolic activities are good if you're sleeping at that time. But if you're compromising on that quality sleep at that time, obviously you're just inviting a lot of lifestyle problems, I would say lifestyle issues into your life. So that would be another thing. And I think the other important thing that needs to be focused on is the stress levels. I think we all have small amount of stress in our life, no doubt. But how well do you manage that stress? How well do you deal with that stress will play a very important role. So putting yourself into any kind of physical activity or exercise pattern somewhere helps you to deal with your stress at a little better compared to someone who is very inactive and in a sedentary lifestyle.
Right. So Aditya, you got some questions, and then we take Venkat's question. And
Yeah, yeah. Hey, Prince. Hi, Shreya.
Hi.
Uh, the first question that I had is, so there is this misconception amongst everybody that eating excessive sugar will lead to diabetes. So I know that Shreya has written about the misconception about sugar and diabetes. It is not the only factor, but if you can help us understand, point number one is what is the role of sugar in the whole concept of diabetes? The first point. The second point is, can you please explain to us what does pre-diabetes really mean? And of course, Sahil is not here. One of the person who has reversed his pre-diabetes condition. So can you please help us understand what is pre-diabetes and in real, can somebody who is pre-diabetic can he reverse his condition to becoming normal and not pre-diabetic? So these were my first two questions.
Thank you, Aditya, for uh, the basic questions, and I think the basic myths that we all have. The answer to your first question, which is like, does sugar cause diabetes? So I would say sugar is not the only contributing factors towards raised sugar. So whenever I see someone who is like a recently diagnosed diabetic, the first thing that will they will tell me before coming to me would be, आपके पास आने से पहले ना हमने शुगर बिल्कुल बंद कर दिया, हमने चावल बिल्कुल बंद कर दिए, हमने रोटी बिल्कुल बंद कर दी, हम आलू भी नहीं खाते. So that's the kind of explanation, or that's the kind of basic groundwork that they do when they are diagnosed with high blood sugar. So I would say it's not your sugar, it's not your roti, it's not your rice that will contribute towards high sugar. It's obviously one of the contributing factor, but not the only contributing factor. Along with all those things, your lifestyle, your eating pattern, your sleep pattern, your stress levels, how the frequency of meals, how mindfully you eat your meals, how frequently are you eating processed food and home cooked meals, all those factors, your activity levels, these all factors would be very, very important when we talk about diabetes. It's not just refined sugar, it's not just eating sugar that will lead to diabetes. That's the answer to your first question. Now coming to the
If I
second.
can just add a question here. So since we are talking about how we can control diabetes and young people cannot have that, so what are the levels of sugar that we should have in our diet so that we go towards the fact that it does not contribute to our diabetes? So diabetes just does not contribute to diabetes, because I know you've written a lot about sugar. So if you can just elaborate that, since we are on this. Sorry to comment.
Sure. So when we talk about how much amount of sugar is allowed in the diet, I would say if you can just avoid refined sugar, you are avoiding too many problems in your life, for sure. But if you want to have sugar, a minimal amount of sugar in a day, I think 1 or 2 teaspoon in a day is fine. You have to just eat it guilt free and not overthink about it. But obviously, sugar is bad for health. And the other thing is, when we talk about sugar, uh, if you're going off sugar, if you're not eating sugar at home, but if you're eating a lot of processed food like chocolates, pastries, or cold drink or fruit juices, whatever thing that you're managing at home by avoiding sugar, you're covering up by eating those processed food. So rather than avoiding refined sugar at home, which is very minimal in your tea or coffee, please start avoiding the ready-made packet juices or the health drinks that we get, or something like flavored milks and all those things. I would say preferably try and avoid those things, because along with that added sugar, we obviously have those packet food would have a lot of sodium to it, a lot of unhealthy or refined carbs added to it, which is not good for our health. So I would say it is more of the ultra processed food that is laden with a lot of sugar and refined flour and processed um, flour that would be a contributing factor rather than just the refined sugar. So if you're off sugar, you have to be off ultra processed food also, which are more loaded with this kind of additives which are not good for health.
Share you there?
Yes, yes. And
Okay.
coming to the second question about the pre-diabetes that you asked about, when we talk about pre-diabetes, the simple risk factors for your pre-diabetes would be, just try and analyze yourself that are you overweight? Are you physically inactive? Is there any kind of hormonal imbalance? Do you have a history of gestational diabetes? If you're a female, you have to check that. Family history of diabetes, or are your stress levels way too high? So these are 6 factors which are like which put you at a risk of pre-diabetes. One, so if your score is like more than 2 out of 6, if you're scoring more than two, then obviously,
Pre-diabetes. Can you please first explain what is pre-diabetes?
sorry, I didn't get your question, Aditya.
Yeah, please. Can you first explain to us what does pre-diabetes really mean? So I'm layman. I don't really understand what pre-diabetes means. So वो
Okay.
आप थोड़ा basic बताओगे तो समझ में आएगा.
Right. So when we talk about pre-diabetes, it is just a stage before diabetes where your body starts showing some kind of small changes before you are diagnosed with diabetes. So when I talk about the small changes that you will start seeing, it would be obviously your blood pressure may be high in the sense more than 140/90. Your HDL cholesterol is less than 35. Your triglycerides are high, and insulin resistance, obesity, darkening of skin around neck, finger joints, or something like that. Those all are a strong indicator that you are into a pre-diabetic zone. One. Second, there are few blood tests that again, help us diagnose it better that you are into a pre-diabetes zone, which is like If you have a fasting sugar between 100 and 125 mg per dl, you are into pre-diabetic zone. If you have an HbA1c which is more than 5.7%, you are into a pre-diabetic zone. Now, how frequently should you monitor yourself just to analyze whether you come into that normal zone or pre-diabetic or a diabetic zone? If you have a genetic history, try and monitor yourself every 3 to 4 months will be important. If not, do an average sugar and a fasting sugar regularly to keep a track where exactly you stand on the clinical path. If you don't have a family history and if you have a bad lifestyle, then also the frequency of testing remains the same. But if you have a very good lifestyle, if you are managing your food habits and everything, and there's no family history as such, and there's no uh, gestational diabetes or hormonal imbalance involved, then once in 6 months should be enough to track yourself whether you are in a safe zone or a pre diabetic zone.
Right. So, Venkat, you can unmute and go with your question, please.
Yeah, hi. This is Venkat. This question is regarding my wife. So she got dengue around 7 months back. After that, I did a regular checkup, and we have noticed that she is having pre-diabetic. Her HbA1c is 6.2, and average blood glucose is 131. So could that be because of dengue? After the dengue, it could happen, or there is no relation? I just want to know.
I would say there's no relation as such uh, with your dengue and being a pre-diabetic. Only thing is your body goes through a lot of stress when obviously when you have dengue because there's high fever and there's uh, the meals are compromised, the appetite is compromised. I would just suggest she's still into a pre-diabetic zone. You can obviously consult a diabetologist and start with the dietary management parallelly, and it can be reversed if it is a recently diagnosed diabetes, pre-diabetes.
Yeah, thanks.
Yes, if I may ask, Shreya, so can you just elaborate if you are pre-diabetic? So is that a condition that is reversible or is it not reversible? And what are these steps that you generally suggest to people?
So, if you're a recently diagnosed pre-diabetic, and as I told you, if your blood parameters are in a particular range of pre-diabetes, 100% we can put you into remission, wherein we can delay the onset of diabetes in your body. And the dietary management for that would be that you start eating a healthy, balanced diet. When we talk about managing pre-diabetes and the kind of meal plan that we will suggest, it would be more about going low carb, high protein, and a healthy fat diet. So when I say low carb and high protein, low carb in the sense the carbohydrates have to be reduced, and I am not saying you have to zero it down, but minimal amount of carbohydrates are important. Try and include healthy carbs into your diet. When I talk about healthy complex carbs, it's like it can be in the form of simple um, millet roti, or it can be in the form of simple rice or simple wheat roti. No refined flour, no, I would say, no kind of processed food. Complex carbs in the form of, I would say, fruits are okay. Your simple homemade millet rotis are okay. So ragi, rajgira, bajra, jawari, those kind of rotis are a good options to include. Now, when I talk about including more protein, see to it that every meal of yours, be it your breakfast, be it your lunch, be it your dinner, you add good amount of protein. Now, usually what happens or what I see in most of the cases is that when they go low carb, they increase their protein intake, but they do not balance it with good amount of fat. They start avoiding the fat also. You don't have to avoid fat, but you have to try and include healthy fat. So there has to be a combination of complex carbs, healthy protein, and healthy fat. Now, when I talk about healthy protein, if you are a vegetarian, it can come from your milk and milk products. It can come from your if you are into soya products, soya is also, tofu is also fine. It can come from your pulses also. A cereal pulse combination is again a good thing to include if you are a pre-diabetic. And obviously, when it comes to healthy fat, your healthy fat will basically come from your nuts and seeds. It will come from the kind of oil that is used, medium kind of oil that is used for cooking food. So that would play an important role. And nuts, seeds, we get a lot of seeds nowadays, be it pumpkin seeds, sunflower seeds, or melon seeds. Those all things can be included. So if you are eating a fruit which is a carb, try and pair your fruit with good amount of nuts and seeds, so automatically the release of sugar is blunted and there is not an immediate spike of sugar. Same thing when you're eating rice, balance it with good amount of vegetable and either pulses, or if you're a non-vegetarian, you can have a portion of chicken curry or something like that. As I told at the start, prioritize sleep. So getting an adequate amount of sleep is very important because that can impact your blood sugar levels. If you're not sleeping well, if your body is under stress, there is a high release of cortisol, which is the stress hormone, which automatically increases insulin resistance and blood sugar levels. So do not compromise on your good quality sleep. That would be important. Stress, so stress again is something, as I told you, stress hormones are like released, and that will lead to a lot of weight gain and elevated blood sugar. So try and involve yourself into managing your stress better by, you know, exercising or meditation or deep breathing exercise or yoga, whatever kind of physical activity that you enjoy. So it has to be a joyful activity. So automatically there is a release of good and happy hormone in the body, which takes care of more or less, which keeps your cortisol, which is your stress hormone, into control.
Right. So we go with the next speaker, Sanjay. Sanjay, you can quickly unmute and keep your question, please.
Hi Shreya, hello everybody. This side Sanjay from Mumbai. Uh, Shreya, I have few questions regarding the recent devices which we see on the social platform, which is basically which is attached to your body and which monitors your blood sugar on 24 hours basis. And there's a saying that the reversal of diabetes is possible now. So I just want to understand from you, is this the right way to monitor your diabetic and undergoing the medication or the health plan? Yeah, can you just throw some light on this? Thank you.
I can't hear you. Hello.
Shreya, I'm audible?
I couldn't hear the question. Am I? You're not audible.
Hello.
Sanjay, come again, please.
Yeah, I'm audible? Hello.
Yes, yes, you are.
Yes, you're
No, you're
audible.
still
Yes.
not audible.
Shreya's line
Sanjay,
is
you
the
you
problem is
say your question. I'll read it out to
yeah.
Shreya, and then
The
we'll
problem is
take
Shreya's
that
line
question.
is a little bit not good.
So my question is ki recently I've been coming across this some devices which you attach to your body which monitors your blood sugar on a 24 hours basis, and they say also saying that there's a reversal of diabetes which is possible based on the 24 hours monitoring of your blood sugar with some health this thing changes or this thing. So can you just help me? I mean, what sort of devices these are, and is it possible to reverse the diabetes?
So Shreya, he is asking, like, these days there are some instrument which we have to wear 24/7, and based on the monitoring, we can find out about diabetes and make the necessary changes in our lifestyle so as to reverse the diabetes. So what are those instruments, if there are any?
So I got audible because I am not able to hear anyone right now.
Not even me.
Yeah, now it is good. Now it is good. Yeah.
So Shreya, his question is, there are some instrument in the market which we have to wear 24/7 so as to monitor the diabetes, right? And on the basis
Right.
of that, we make the necessary lifestyle changes and reverse diabetes. So are there any instruments? If there are any, could you please name them?
Right. Yes, there are few instruments which you can attach to your body, and you can get a 24/7 reading, and that gives you a better analysis about how, what meals are effective for you, what combinations are effective for your body, and what exactly works in your favor when it comes to blood sugar management. And it is specifically more widely used for type 1 diabetics who are insulin dependent. And now, obviously, they have started with the type 2 diabetics also. It is called as CGMS. And it is continuous glucose monitoring machine which we attach to our body, and which gives, there are applications in our phone which keeps a track, and which gives us the reading after every meal, or after how your sugars are all throughout the day 24/7. And there are type 2 diabetics who have very irregular sugar ranges. They do use it to understand the meal patterns that work best for them. But it is not that widely used in India yet. And I would not recommend for anyone who is like, pre-diabetic or just recently diagnosed diabetes management. I think you can just work on your food pattern, and that should be enough, because that continuous glucose monitoring somewhere adds on to the stress levels also, because you consistently are aware about your sugar readings. One, second, it is only done with the you have to keep your diabetologist or endocrinologist in loop, and it is only done after it has been advised to you and not on your own, to be very frank. So if your diabetologist or endocrinologist feels that it is a requirement for your body type, they will advise you to go ahead and use that monitoring machine, or else you don't have to.
Right.
One of the questions
So
here
we
that he
take
also
next
asked.
question.
Yeah.
Ramesha. Ramesh. Okay, Ramesh Sani. Ramesh Sani. If you have any question, please unmute and ask. Sanjay, you are done with your question, or you had some additional question as well?
No, thank you. I think the information what Shreya has shared, that was helpful for me. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So then we go to Asif. Asif, you can unmute and ask your question.
Hi everyone, how are you? Yeah, my question to Shreya was at what level we should start having medications?
Uh, okay. Now, when it comes to medication, obviously, if your sugar levels, or if your average sugar is more than 7, then you have the first, obviously, if you're a recently diagnosed diabetic, and if you see a endocrinologist or a diabetologist, the first thing that they will advise you to do is, try and manage your blood sugars with a change in lifestyle and dietary management for 15 days. And then you will be asked to repeat your fasting blood sugars, and on the basis of that, they will go ahead with recommending you any kind of oral medicine for managing your diabetes. But if your random sugar, or if your fasting blood sugars are very high, supposedly if your random sugar is 300, or supposedly if your fasting sugars are more than 160, 170, obviously there is a requirement that you start with some kind of medicine in parallel to managing your blood sugar levels via diet and lifestyle changes. So don't take a risk of, even if you have high blood sugars, and trying to manage your sugars just with dietary and lifestyle changes without the advice of the diabetologist or the endocrinologist. To play it safe, always keep them in loop, and if they tell you that you require a medicine, you can go off medicine. It is not necessary that that medicine is going to be there with you lifetime, if you parallelly manage your lifestyle and eating habits.
Right. So
Yeah,
Tanmay, you
thank you
got
so
any question? Thanks, Asif.
Hey Prince, thanks. I have one question for Shreya. Shreya, so personally, what I have done, I have reduced my weight by 10 kg in last 1 year. But one thing always bother me, because I do intermittent fasting and takes foods only couple of times in the noon and the dinner. Uh, do you can you suggest one any kind of taste where probably I can go and consult doctor and understand that am I lacking any vitamins, minerals, or do I need to continue with any supplements? Because these intermittent fastings I'm doing basically not taken any kind of consultations of my own. I got a benefit because I reduced almost 10 kg weight, but I'm sometimes it bother me because am I lacking any nutrients, or I need to take any vitamins or supplements or minerals. So do you suggest any kind of things for that?
Okay, so when
And
we talk about like
Shreya,
intermittent fasting,
additional question to the same question is like reducing weight, and what all ways which we can use for healthy weight reduction. And I mean, at times it like feels like somebody can reduce weight, and on the top of that they can also do lot of harm to their health. So I would also like you to touch upon this, please.
sure. So when we talk about intermittent fasting in simple language is like you eat in a particular window period, be it for 8 hours or 10 hours, and you're fasting in the other phase, wherein you just have water or some kind of fluid. Now, coming to the question, like, to understand whether you are deficient of certain nutrients or do you require some kind of a supplementation along with your intermittent fasting, there would be a lot of, questions that will go into picture to understand, do you require test or do you require supplement? Your food habits, your lifestyle, do you have any kind of aches and pains? How is your sleep pattern? How is your activity levels? Those things would be important to answer your question whether you require supplementation or not. Second, by basic rule, along with your intermittent fasting, what you can do is you can do some basic test, like test yourself for vitamin D3, vitamin B12, serum magnesium, serum calcium, which will somewhere give you a clarity whether you need to supplement yourself or not. First step towards any deficiency is try and manage your eating habits, and then too if there is a deficiency you need a supplement, and there you need to try and do a correct dose or correct I would say correct frequency of medicines or supplementation would be required, which only a doctor or nutritionist will tell you after understanding your lifestyle, your eating habits, and seeing your clinical blood reports. So it cannot be key, like if XYZ is doing intermittent fasting, you have to start with certain amount of supplements. It's not like that. There's no standard rule कि intermittent fasting के साथ ये supplement लेना ही है. It will differ from person to person, and it is very much individualized. And coming to the way you
Thanks,
said that
yeah,
you have
thanks a
lost
lot.
10
Yeah.
kgs, uh, you have lost 10 kgs. Now, when it comes to weight loss, I would just suggest that a healthy weight loss is something wherein you lose approximately somewhere around 3 kgs in a month and not more. That is the healthy weight loss. 3 to 4 kgs in a month is a healthy weight loss. If you're losing like 10 kgs or 8 to 10 kgs in a month, obviously somewhere you're losing out on the muscle mass. You will land up with a lot of deficiencies, and you will land up with a lot of other clinical issues if you are trying to do something drastic with your body. So never do that. Whenever it comes to weight reduction, try and see that you take some experts advice before you start with your journey. Discuss what is comfortable for you, what is not comfortable for you, and what is doable in long run, so that you sustain that eating habit or an eating plan for a longer period of time. So whatever weight loss that you achieve, you maintain it for a longer period of time. Third, weight loss is not just about standing on a weighing scale and seeing the change in the number, but it's beyond that. The moment you lose healthy matlab, the moment you start losing the fat mass or the unhealthy fat, the first thing that you will see is a difference in your energy levels. Your energy levels would be good, your sleep pattern would be better, your mental health would be better. You would choose your food more sensibly and consciously. So those all factors would try your body will try and tell you no, you're on the right path. But if you're losing weight, but in parallel to that, if your sleep pattern is not great, if your energy levels are not that great, you have a lot of acidity or bloating issues, gut issues, then obviously you're not on a right track. So that number would not be the only judgmental factor when we talk about weight loss.
Yeah, Shreya, thanks for articulating well. I mean, yeah, you are right, and I have done most of the things as you said, I've taken, I think, around 3.5 4 months to reduce the weight, and you are right. Most of the things I have seen improvement, and yeah, going good. Only the vitamins and minerals part. You are right. I'll do some tests to check all those things, and then probably good to continue the same diet. Then, yeah. Thanks.
Problem.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Tanvi. So, Kunal, you can unmute and ask a question, please.
I want to know that I somewhere read also some video see that moringa powder or in other words it is drumstick leaf powder. It is nowadays lot of use in the diabetes and other medicine. It is true and it is a benefit.
Okay. So, when we talk about moringa powder or drumstick leaves, obviously, when it comes to the nutrients or when it comes to health, it is very, very good. But I would just emphasize that there is no one single ingredient or there is no one single food item that will help in managing your blood sugars totally. There's no superfood, there's no magical food wherein if you're taking that, your sugars would be okay. So, along with that, other things would matter your eating habits, your sleep pattern, your stress levels, all those things would matter, and not just taking moringa powder, which will help in reversing diabetes. Moringa powder is not bad for health, but it is not the only thing that will help in managing your blood sugars.
Okay, thank you.
Right. So, Himanshu, you can go next. Unmute and ask a question.
Hi, Shreya. Actually, I would like to know that I have seen some people they are using Herbalife products and they have become non-diabetic from diabetic. And second question is that whether the uric acid and diabetes these are proportionate. This if the diabetes will go up, then sugar will go up, then uric acid correspondingly will increase.
Okay. Now, when we talk about Herbalife product, I would just in simple term tell you that any kind of meal, they are meal replacers. So you replace your breakfast or lunch or dinner and have that powder as your meal. Now, I always say this, that you should eat powders or you should consume powders only when you're not able to chew your food, and there is nothing better than eating the natural food. Herbalife products say obviously people lose a lot of weight, but that's obviously going to be temporary. Ask someone who has lost weight, stop the herbal powder, and then after 6 months, 8 months, how is their health condition? Is their weight loss still intact? Because mainly the moment you stop that product, automatically your weight loss also goes for a toss and you gain back double. That's what practically I've seen, and that weight. I would say the weight that you gain again is like a stubborn fat, which is very difficult to lose. Along with that, obviously, you'll end up with a lot of other clinical issues. Uh, be it your skin issues, I have seen a lot of hormonal changes coming up into the picture, a lot of hair fall. The moment you stop that product, so a dependency on a product or a powder for your weight loss is not a good choice to go for, even if that even if that guarantees you like 10 kgs or 15 kgs in a year. I would never appreciate you to go for a product where you do so much of investment at the cost of your health. So that would be answer to your first question. Second, when we talk about the way you said correlation between your uric acid and diabetes, I don't think so there is any strong correlation between high uric acid and high blood sugar. Obviously, both are metabolic disorders and both have to managed individually.
Okay, thanks.
So there are a couple of questions in the comments. I read it out with names. So Naveen Agrawalji is asking, I wish to know if checking blood sugar from AccuCheck at home gives reliable reading. What should be the normal and PP levels from AccuCheck?
Okay. So when it comes to glucose monitoring machine or a BP monitoring machine, the digital ones that we have handy at home, one simple thing: every machine has its own error. So what you can do is whenever you go for a blood test, wherein you're going to check your fasting blood sugars, at the same time go with your machine, your BP monitoring machine and your AccuCheck, and monitor your sugar then there and note down the reading. So, and once you get your printed reading, you can compare. So you will understand what are the how much point difference is there. More or less, this I would say 5 to 10 points difference, to be frank. But every machine is very different. So try and I think do it practically for yourself to understand your machine's error. So whenever you're doing a fasting blood sugar, you can go with your self monitoring glucose machine and monitor yourself there and compare the readings. That would be one. And same thing, you can do it for blood pressure also. That if you have a clinic, or if you have someone, if you have a doctor who does manual BP monitoring, you can go there and check your BP on a manual machine. Parallelly, you can ask the nurse or the doctor to check it on your blood, digital machine also. So you will get to know the error of your machine. So whenever you're monitoring, you can do that plus minus according to your machine's error.
Right. So Himanshu Bhatt has three questions. So first is like many experts ask to avoid sugar substitutes. Do these cause much more harm than enabling a person in controlling diabetes? Are all these so bad, even stevia based?
Uh, okay, so when it comes to sugar substitutes, if you're not someone who is consuming lot of sugar in a day, then as I said, you can have your normal refined sugar in a restricted portion. It's okay, because all these sugar substitutes come with its own side effect. Side effect in the sense, most people have a lot of gut issues when they have sugar substitutes. So preferably, I would not advise until and unless you are someone who eats a lot of sugar in a day. You don't have to go for any kind of sugar substitute. Instead, I would say have it in the refined form. At least you're aware that you're having something bad which is not good for your health, and you will consciously not overdo with it, rather than pampering yourself that no, I am eating a substitute, so it's not going to harm me. I am safe, so I can have how much ever I can. No, that is one. Second, I would say all this, if you even if you are a diabetic, I would never recommend a sugar substitute to a diabetic. Rather go off sugar, or just have 1 teaspoon of sugar in a day in your tea or coffee if you want to. That's it. Nothing beyond that. Even the stevia based thing somewhere leaves a strong aftertaste or a bitter taste in the mouth. So I would not recommend. And sometimes the sugar substitutes in itself, send a signal to your brain wherein it tells you that, you have to eat more sugar. So there's a lot of sugar craving when you go on a sugar substitute. So preferably avoid it.
So second question is any estimates or charts available which activities consume or burn how much sugar, like those available stating numbers of calories burned by various activities, and share like is there any
Yeah.
good app on the basis of which where we can feed whatever diet we are consuming on daily basis, and on the basis of which we get to know ki how things are going for us.
Uh, Okay, so there are few apps that tell you about calories. There are few apps that tell you about how much calories are you burning with, a particular kind of physical activity. But I just understand one simple thing is this: over monitoring things create more stress on you, more stress on your mind, that you are like, if you're someone who is calculating the calories or amount of calories that you eat in a day, every food that you eat, you become so conscious about it, and you worry about, oh, I'm eating a banana, oh, this is 75 calories, I shouldn't eat this, I'm not allowed to eat this because my daily allowance is this. That is not the kind of relationship that you should have with your food. The simple thing that I always suggest is that have a good relationship with your food, so whatever you eat works in your favor and shows positively on your body. Second is eat your food very mindfully or sensibly, wherein you are eating without distraction, you are chewing your food well, and I think you are eating the good quality of food. So whatever is there on your plate has to be good quality. You're chewing it well, and you're eating it with all your senses involved into it and not in any other activity. That should be more than enough. Automatically, your body will send you the hunger and the fullness cues on its own. You don't need an app. You don't need a tracker to understand how much calories are you consuming or how much calories are you burning. When it comes to activities, also try and involve yourself into activities which you enjoy, which you love. So automatically you will burn. I don't know about the calorie part, but obviously there are going to be very good happy hormones that would be released, which will somewhere work in your favor when it comes to better health.
Right. And does cold or hot climate has anything on burning sugar? Maybe is it right to assume that we burn more sugar in cold?
No, I don't. To be very frank, there's nothing like that. That in winters you will, your sugars would be better or your sugars would be bad. There's nothing like that. It totally depends on your eating habits on and your activity levels and your sleep pattern.
Right. So Ajay is asking, eating millets are good for health.
Yeah. So yeah, millets are a good introduction in your day-to-day eating plan. But if you're someone who has gut issues, then you have to be very conscious about how you prepare your millet or how you are consuming your millet. So if you're new to millets, introduce it very, very gradually. Do not be like, you go off wheat, off rice, and just eat millet all 7 days. Don't do that to your body because, again, millet is loaded with a lot of fiber. So it is going to be a little difficult to digest. So I would say millet can be a part of a healthy eating plan, maybe twice or thrice a week, in combination of your wheat and rice, which you have always eaten or grown up eating. So you don't have to zero down on something and force feed yourself just with millets. Try and create a balance. Coming to the cooking method, see to it you soak the millets really well, you cook them really well, so that you don't land up with any kind of digestive issues. And obviously balance your millet with good amount of either pulse and vegetables, so it is like a wholesome recipe that you're consuming.
Right. Another question is from Rohit Sarkar. Should we avoid all kind of refined oil? If yes, then which oil should we consume along with cold pressed or mustard oil?
Okay. uh, Refined oils are not good for health for sure. It can come into picture once in a while if you want to deep fry, but I think for deep frying also nowadays we have something called as filtered oil that are available in the market, and that you can use it in the kitchen for deep frying. Along with cold pressed mustard oil, what you can do is you can try and use a little of homemade ghee, or if you have pure ghee available, that is a good combination. Or something like, I would say keep changing the type of oil. So if you're someone who uses more of mustard oil, in balance with mustard oil, you can keep the other type of oil changing. Like for a month, you can have groundnut oil, for another month, you can have coconut oil, for next month, you can have something like sesame oil. So keep changing the type of oil because every oil has its good and bad nutrients to it. So to get the good nutrients from all type of oil, you should keep changing the type of oil every month. But obviously, you have to restrict the portions. So when I talk about portions, it has to be like half liter per person per month. So don't cross that barrier or that allowance. It shouldn't be like, since you're consuming something which is healthy or something like cold pressed oils, you can have how much ever you want. Oil at the end of the day is oil, so you have to have it in a restricted portion depending upon your daily allowance or monthly allowance.
Another question is like, although you discussed
Hmm.
about it, what's the issue with stevia?
Stevia, that's what I said. Stevia has a very strong aftertaste to it. One, I am not saying it is bad, but if you're not a diabetic, you don't have to go for stevia. I think then you can just limit your sugar intake on a daily basis. That's a better thing to do.
Right. And thoughts on insulin resistance and how we can avoid it?
When it comes to insulin resistance, I think insulin resistance is one of the earliest sign of high blood sugar, or I would say you being a pre-diabetic. That is the first thing. And if you want to try and manage your insulin resistance, what you have to do is obviously the same thing that I discussed previously. Is that one is timely meals would be important. Eating a low carb and a high protein and a healthy fat diet would be important. Whenever you're consuming carbs, see to it you pair it with good amount of protein and fat. Try and see that you do not compromise on your 7 to 8 hours of quality sleep. Try and avoid all kind of added sugar. Daily joyful activity, any kind of physical activity that you like. If you are on a higher side of the weight, try and see that you start working on your weight. Try and lose the excessive abdominal fat if you have any. One strong sign of insulin resistance is you will see a lot of skin tags on your body. You will see blackening of skin near around your neck, around your near your elbow, around your lips. Those all things are very strong signs that our body gives us at a very early stage, uh, even before pre-diabetes. This insulin resistance. There is some kind of numbness in your hand and feet. You have a lot of acne or skin patches. So try and work on your meal patterns, your exercise, and your sleep. And I think your insulin resistance is managed well.
Right. So, darkening of skin, you just told while explaining. So, my question is, what are things we can notice from the skin of a person, like some early signs, not only diabetes, but uh, do we get to know about other diseases as well?
Uh, to be very frank, as I specifically for insulin resistance, obviously, your skin health talks a lot about it. You will start getting a lot of acne. You will start getting a lot of dark skin patches on your neck and armpit. You start feeling numbness on your feet and on your palms. You don't feel the sensations really well. There's a lot of sugar. So that is it. But obviously your face also talks a lot about your facial skin, also talks a lot about your health. So if you have a lot of acne on your forehead, it talks about a lot of your gut health issues. If you have a acne around your jawline, it talks about hormonal imbalance. So if you have acne or patchy skin, on your cheeks or something, it talks a lot about your liver health. So those are your face. We usually say this, that your face is a map of your health. So it talks about a lot. It talks a lot about whether you're in good health or bad health.
Right. And there are times like one question around people get patches on their skin, maybe due to some autoimmune or something. Can that be cured with some dietary thing, or how one should go about it?
Depends about what kind of autoimmune disease it is, because sometimes some autoimmune diseases are like, you just have to understand what are the triggers and you can manage it really well. Sometimes some skin diseases are because of certain kind of food allergens which your body is sensitive to or your body is allergic to. So you have to try and understand that allergen, and the moment you reduce or stop that allergen, automatically the the condition reverses. So that obviously involves a lot of understanding about the food patterns, the sensitivity towards food, what suits you, what doesn't suit you, and then tracing out one simple ingredient or one or two ingredient that doesn't go well with your body, which is creating or which is a contributing factor towards that condition.
Right, Shreya. One last question for the day. So it's around HB. So most of the time we feel like, especially in females, there is the HB is low in comparison to the ideal level. So what would be your suggestion how they should go about it and how they can maintain healthy HB?
Okay. So when we talk about hemoglobin, one important thing that you have to take care. Obviously, if your hemoglobin is very, very low, you would need some kind of supplementation to support it, because it comes up in the form of paleness in the skin or tiredness, lethargy, fatigue, not able to do the daily chores confidently or with good energy. When it comes to management of your hemoglobin levels, you have to try and include more of iron rich food in your diet. Now, when I talk about iron rich food, I will just mention the list of iron rich food that you can try and include. But all these iron rich foods are very warm for the body. So when you introduce, as I always say, that whenever you're introducing some new ingredient in your diet which is not a part of your daily routine, try and introduce in a minimal portion to start with, to understand how your body is accepting it. Now when it comes to iron rich foods, cereals mein bajra and ragi is something you can try and introduce. When it comes to pulses, your rajma, your chole, your horse gram dal, which is your kudit, that is something which is rich in iron. Your amaranth flour, जो rajgira बोलते हैं, that again is a very good source of iron in the diet. Uh, there are few seeds. There's something called as garden cress seeds, which is called as halim in Hindi, and which is one of the best source of iron in our diet. But you have to start consuming it in the minimal portion. So you can just, some people make halim ke laddu, some people make halim ki kheer, and they have it. Or you can just soak the halim for like 20 minutes and then have it as it is. That is one of the best way to have it if you don't want any added sugar in your diet. And normal simple, if you can get good quality of jaggery, which is a dark variety of jaggery, it has some minimal amount of iron to it. One thing you have to keep in mind is that whenever you are having an iron rich food, you have to parallelly try and see that you are including vitamin C rich food also in your diet. Because agar iron rich food kha rahe ho, and if there is not enough vitamin C going into the body, the absorption of iron is not that great. So always, whenever you have your pulses, whenever you have your leafy vegetables, which are again a good source of iron, try and see that you squeeze good amount of lemon juice over it and have, so that the bioavailability of that iron is a little better and the absorption is also better. The other thing that you can try and include is, I had mentioned it previously also, the cauliflower leaves, which the sabzi wala usually throws it off, or even we throw it off if we have it. So the cauliflower leaves are one of the good source of iron and calcium. So if you can get those leaves and wash them nicely and maybe add it to your sabzi, or add it, make it in the form of soup and have it, that is one of the best way to boost your hemoglobin levels. It's not just the beetroot, tomato, and spinach that will help. They are all obviously good source of nutrients, but not one of the best sources of iron in our diet. There are multiple good sources. So try and include that as a part of your normal diet along with the normal food, and not just specifically eating just the iron rich food. So there has to be balance there along with vitamin C. But if your hemoglobin level is below 9, below 8, please consult a doctor and start with some minimal supplement also along with the dietary changes or the iron rich diet.
Great. So many thanks, Shreya, for agreeing doing today's session on short notice. It was really, really insightful, and surely time and again we'll ask you for more insightful sessions so that our attendees can benefit from that. And also, like, if you guys feel like connecting for specialized advice, you can surely get in touch with Shreya. And the session is recorded, so just in case you missed the initial part of it, you can listen it over my YouTube channel. I would insist you guys to subscribe to the channel, because you'll get a lot of financial and all other aspects of life videos related to that. And also you can connect with my handle and Shreya's handle, so that whatever we share can be seen on your timeline. So thank you so much. We'll come again with other spaces. Thank you so much, Shreya.
Yeah, thank you so much, Prince, for having me, and thank you everyone who has joined in today at such a short notice. It's a pleasure being here, and Prince, your spaces are seriously very nice. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your kind words. Good night. Take care.
Thank you. Thank you.